Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Cajun Knight Live. I am your host, the Cajun Knight, Jacob Mook. And sorry that I was not able to shoot last week. I was in Oregon, and I was unable to really section off enough time to make that happen. There's been a couple of weeks in the past month's worth of time anyway, that I wasn't able to shoot, and I appreciate all of y'all for staying loyal and faithful members of the retinue and following me in this journey of my own spinoff situation here. To all the people listening, if you would like to be a part of the retinue, go to the link in the description below to patreon.com/Cajun Knight. There's only one tier for entry. We're just trying to grow this to be our own Wednesday night conversation about the goings and comings of the day to day. It might be religion, it might be geopolitics, it might be a little bit of all the above. And for this one, actually, I wanted to start off with a question to the people in the chat. And, for this one, there's no need for the hand raises. I'm just very curious how everybody's individual faiths feel about this. So everybody knows that I am a non-denominational Protestant Christian, more of the evangelical variety, but I also hold a very deep connection to Catholicism because of my upbringing. I'm in Louisiana after all. It just comes with the territory. And I do a fair amount of digging into biblical scholarship, early church fathers, things of this nature. Now, with that being said, I'm curious because I know we have a Norse pagan in the chat. I know we have a Catholic in the chat. I know we have a Jew in the chat. And we have some people that are kind of a-religious, if you want to call it that. So I'm curious, how does everybody's religion feel as far as forgiveness from the Creator on sin? And let me break down what I mean by this, and we'll flesh it out kind of together. So, all right. In the Protestant faith, we understand that we are forgiven through the death of Jesus Christ and through our faith, right? Regardless of what the sin is. Now, in the human world, we may not forgive the sinner of all the sins that were committed, right? Absolutely. And that we're human. We're imperfect. That's a part of this. However, in the divine realm, we believe that God can forgive all sins, that no sin is bigger or greater than God, right? Cool. But that's also up for God to determine. You'll see a lot of people that will get on social media and YouTube and whatever else, these content creator types who they did some foul, horrible things in the past, and then through a chain of events found faith, found God, and they come into the faith and they leave all their sinful ways behind, but they still have to reconcile with their past. And there's something to be said for that, and fine, got you. But at least in my denomination, we do believe that all sins are forgivable as long as you ask for that forgiveness. Nobody's just like guaranteed the grace just because they happen to be a person that went to Sunday school every Sunday. You see what I'm saying here? So if I'm not mistaken, in Catholicism, that works, but there's also a certain number of, a certain type of penance that's due, if I'm not mistaken. And Tony, feel free to chime in on this one. And, we always see the colloquial, say 10 Hail Marys and 40 Our Fathers and you're forgiven. And I feel like that's mostly movies, to be honest with you. But correct me if I'm wrong, but the Catholics don't believe that you are inherently forgiven through faith and being truly sorry in and of itself. There is an amount of work that is due on the back end, correct?
Yeah, when you go to confession, you normally get assigned to pray a couple Hail Marys or something like that. And if you're unable to go and you die uncontrollably or something, it's not like you'll be thrown into hell for that.
Okay, fair enough. But you have to go to confession, essentially. Like you can't die with like weight on your heart and be expected to be admitted to heaven, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Royce, in the Jewish faith, and I'm asking this because I truly don't know, is it more along the lines of a grace period through works, through deeds, through
grace period? What do you mean?
Well, like, so same conversation. Let's just say like there's a murder, for instance. Let's say that somebody commits murder cold-blooded,
Sure.
not in defense of or anything like that, and they have this weighing on their hearts. They get away with it, like they, for whatever reason, somehow, some way, they did not get any jail time associated with this, but they know that their time is up soon, and they need to get this off their heart. Do they have to confess to a rabbi? Is there
No.
a certain prayer they have to pray, something similar to the Catholics, how there's so many Hail Marys and things like this? Or how does that work in Jewish faith as far as penance for sins like that?
So obviously we believe that God is the ultimate judge. In the Bible, I don't remember the exact verses, but we believe in divine reward and punishment. Also, that God's attributes of mercy outweigh the attributes of strict justice. It's like about 500 to 1. It's I don't remember the exact number. So if somebody were to commit a sin, they would need to ask for forgiveness. Also, there's the idea of the Day of Atonement, in which so it's interesting because with the Day of Atonement, it doesn't just, or somebody is only atoned for sins that, like, it's two parts. You have between like you and God, and you and your fellow man. To where if I have a friend who I hurt or did something or wronged, I would need to ask that person for forgiveness. If I do not, those sins are not forgiven. So, for example, there was someone who I knew. He did me dirty because he was a douchebag.
Did you? Sorry. Did you say
I did?
douchebag?
Yes.
Okay.
I did. This is not the first time I've used this wonderful term, and
I love it.
It's perfect. I really do love it.
I'm stealing it from you. That's wonderful. Anyway,
you need a steak.
Sam, go ahead. Weigh in on this. Are we saying the vampire bag?
Look, I can give him. I know it's gonna sound kind of weird, Van Helsing giving the Dracula a fucking vampire kit and all, but I can set you up with a burlap sack and a steak, and we can throw a cat and a dog in that bitch and toss them in the river.
Oh my God!
I don't think that's the kind of douchebag we're talking about. But in either case, so this individual, he did me dirty, and I to this day have still not forgiven him. Mm-hmm. So like eventually he will have to once he dies, like he will have to make up or for it some way, shape, or form, like in the form of Gehenna. But like if there's something between me and God, like it's a different story. So Yom Kippur, not solves, but like that whole day, God forgives you for sins between yourself and God, and then you need to go out of your way to work your way through and make sure that you and your fellow man are good. So in the case of a murderer, obviously you can't exactly ask for forgiveness for that person. So I would assume that there would be like that it would be an atonement in life, but also we do believe that like if somebody, let's say there is a really strange case in the Gemara where there is someone who he's like on a ladder and he accidentally kills somebody, and it really turns out to where like the person who died was the person who should have been died if he would have been put to death through the Jewish court system, and the person who dropped the whatever, like he just didn't end up getting caught for that one. So we believe that God is the divine judgment, or is the divine judge. So ultimately, I mean, it's his prerogative, but sometimes death itself is the atonement for it. Because even in the case of the Bible, where it listed various punishments, whether there were lashes or even the 4 different stages of execution, like those in and of themselves is a version of atonement.
Okay. But do y'all believe there's a possibility for atonement after death?
Sure.
Really?
Correct. Yeah, because that's the whole point of Gehenna. The whole point of Gehenna is not just a waiting period. Like while you're in Gehenna, like you're suffering. So if So like for example, so lust is akin to fire and heat. So therefore, maybe your punishment might be fire. If you were angry or you were cold, it might have been through that. So there are various opinions as to the kind of thing you get. But like, unless somebody is truly, truly evil,
Yeah.
they're not going to spend an eternity in hell. Like while you are in Gehenna, your soul gets purged of the sins you did in this life, and then you could either reincarnate or potentially go to heaven.
So I will say that's one distinct difference between your faith and the Christian faith. From what I can tell, we don't believe that there is atonement after death. The closest thing would be like the Catholics believe in purgatory, but that's not more of atonement. That's more like a glorified waiting
A
room.
waiting period.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I
I think
guess
Catholics got it from us anyway.
I would think so, to be honest with you. I mean, you got to look at the early church fathers as far as what was little c Catholic versus big C Roman Catholic. Most of them were Jewish converts, if you will. They didn't call themselves Christian at the time. They just called themselves followers of the way. So yeah, I think that was probably one of those crossovers that came from Judaism for sure. So as far as the Jewish faith is concerned, you do have to atone for the sin. And there's a difference between sins against God versus sins against man. And
Right.
in the Christian faith, yeah, a sin against God as far as like full on blaspheming and being an enemy of the faith, yeah, got you. That's a separate category. But aside from that, which is like the most egregious, a sin is a sin is a sin. Like it's pretty much all equal.
So Jews don't believe in that. So just like how there are different levels, right? Both on the positive and in the negative. So it's true that a sin is a sin. However, they're not all equal. I mean, even in the Bible itself, there are some sins like stealing that you get lashes for. There are some sins that you that are worth the death penalty. Now, granted, there are basically our big three that we don't do that we're supposed to die rather than do. It's blaspheming,
yeah,
sexual immorality, and I forget the third one. But there are like three big ones that you don't do. But even in that, like we don't believe that really a soul is damned, because we do believe that God is merciful at the end of the day.
Okay, fair enough. Norse trucker, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are a practicing Norse pagan, correct?
Correct.
And I have met, and as far as the pagan, and I'm using that term with I'm casting a very wide net here. So, and forgive me if I'm incorrect. Please correct me on my things here. But the Norse pagans that I have met, and again, I understand that not all Norse pagans operate in the same way. Royce, I see you.
Yeah.
But whenever I met them, this is a couple years back, I went to a big Embolic fire festival. It was really cool, by the way. I was asking them about what does Norse paganism, teach about sin. And they basically looked at me like I was crazy. And they're like, there is no sin, dude. Like that's not a thing. And I was like, wait, so committing a crime against your fellow man or a crime against the gods, that doesn't exist in y'all's faith? And they're like, oh, sure, you could piss the gods off. Yeah, you could do that, and you'll get retribution for it. But the way that you're thinking of sin does not exist in our belief system. Is that accurate to what you believe?
Actually, yeah, that's pretty accurate. So whoever was teaching you what it was is actually very accurate on what they were saying. We don't have sin like the Abrahamic religion. Ours is more, don't kill people, don't try to sleep with other people's wives and everything like that. There's numerous of things. Just be a good person, right? Inside out, right? And don't do bad things towards other people. Like if you want to do that, yeah, you may piss off the gods and you may be in a heap of shit with them, But that's the thing, right? You will not know unless you live your life um, through the years. How bad is your life going to be compared to how good your life is going to be? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are the gods actually answering, well, I'll say your prayers, but it isn't actually your prayers? Are you summoning the gods to you kind of thing to help you out through life, or they can ignore you,
And that's the other thing too.
right?
You don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the Norse religion, you're not praying to the gods for a thing. You're asking for their guidance and their wisdom, so to speak. You're asking for
Yeah,
their favor, but it's not
yeah,
like they're granting you your request, so to speak, if you're in hard times. That y'all pretty much believe that you got to figure your own shit out.
pretty much. Yeah. If you're in a tough time, you ask for their guidance. Yes, you do, right? But if they don't need to answer it, then they don't need to answer it, right?
Hmm.
Figure your own shit out, right?
Yeah.
Basically, don't be a bitch. I don't know
That's,
if I can say it yet.
yeah, you're good. You were past the 10-minute mark. But,
Nice.
so, I mean, that's pretty. And whenever you said don't kill, I'm like, the Vikings were teaching not to, brother. What?
Right, right, right. It's the modern version, just saying.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I will say that the objective morality from, uh, we could call it the Christian Judeo way of thinking, the Western way of thinking, if you will. More often
Hmm.
than not, I see that it lines up with what the Norse pagans believe as far as objective morality is concerned, as far as the very basics of the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, pretty much. See, we don't ostracize other people. We accept other people, though, right? In the simple fact that most the gay, lesbian community, even transgender, if they wanted to come into our faith, we won't ostracize them for it. We'll for what they believe in, because we probably have a God for them to understand them, to help guide them, that kind of thing, right? Like Loki, he's a transformer, right? He
Yeah,
he
at one
he
point he was, yeah.
right
Also a horse.
in
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Right? He also changed into a woman. Odin changed into an old woman. He also changed into a different man, right? So like that's where we kind of go, okay, well this is okay that we can actually bring them in with us, right? So that they can have something to hold on to as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, just to let everybody know.
So the way that the Norse pagan view what we might call sin is, okay, so you screwed up and you got to make it right. But it's up to you to
Yeah.
figure that out and whatever that might mean. If that's like a murder, well, that family of the murdered party can exact their revenge on you, and you just got to take it because you earned that one, so to speak.
You have earned that one, yes. If they cannot be um because we don't have a hell.
Right. So like
our
so
our version of, right? They won't have any like repercussions from the gods because they wanted to take their vengeance out on you. If you killed that person, they could actually go and say, "Well, I want a humganga." With a humganga in the religion, we don't do that no more. But it's basically the fighting to the death of this person, right?
and then you get
And
whoever wins takes the possessions of the other, yeah.
yeah, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So if the gods favored the murderer, right, then maybe that murderer didn't actually do it,
Oh,
kind of
so it's like
thing.
a trial by combat, so to speak.
Trial by combat kind of thing. Yeah,
Got you. Okay.
yeah.
But like you said, y'all don't believe in some sort of uh, underworld of torment or anything like that.
There is, but there's not a whole lot of knowledge on it. It says it says in the Poetic Edda that it's at the bottom of hell, right? And you're going to be feasted upon by a dragon that will eat your flesh, and yeah, it's kind of obscured. So
I thought hell
we've
was the
kind of just
goddess. I got that one
hell
backwards.
So
hell is the goddess, right? But she runs hell.
I see. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, she runs the realm of hell.
Got you.
she's
Sam,
also the daughter of Loki,
Yes.
right, right,
and she
right.
wants to fuck over.
I mean, fair, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
So, yeah, just kind of bouncing that off. I was thinking about that the other day as far as, because I know what my faith teaches as far as how sin goes and how it works and how we get right with the Creator. And of course, it depends on the sin, although we do also acknowledge that confession is important, but it doesn't necessarily have to be it depends on the sin, depends on what the situation is, right? Like if I stole something from somebody, I don't necessarily have to go to a pastor or a priest to get absolution for that. I can confess it to the afflicted person. I could say, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry. I was doing this. I stole from you." But that's not going to make it right. You also need to like pay it back, and you need to do whatever there is to make that right. When it comes to murder, it's a little more grievous. But yes, we believe that all sins are forgivable aside from, because it's going to go up on YouTube, I have to use the word self-deletion. And the only reason why I'm saying that is unforgivable is because the person was not able to ask for forgiveness after the fact because they are no more. That's as far as I could tell, that's the only reason. They talk about it in the Bible as being an unforgivable sin also because the greatest gift that God could have given you aside from the blood of his son is the gift of life itself. And for you to check out early from that is basically spitting in God's face for the second greatest gift that he could give you. And that's also kind of like a double entendre as far as that goes. But there's nuances to that as well. Right. It's like the people in the towers at 9/11 that were jumping rather than choosing to burn to death. By definition, that was a self-deletion. But I think we can all admit there's a difference between choosing the way you go and out versus actually checking out early. So there's levels to that and there's nuance to it. And I'm not saying that I am in any position to judge anybody, but I was curious, going around the table, what everybody's thoughts were on sin, forgiveness, atonement, retribution, things like this. Sam, I see your hand raised, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, so to piggyback off of what Roy said about Guyana, or Ghana, however the fuck you pronounce it, I ain't the Jew.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they believe it's in a way you're getting your lashes, like you have to pay the penalty, but they don't believe in the eternal damnation that we believe in. And also the place that you were talking about, essentially the Norse's version of hell that's below the Helheim, is actually called Niflheim. And it's eternal cold, it's darkness, and the gnashing of teeth.
Okay. Fair enough. I've heard of Niflheim.
I really like different religions and studying them. Hell,
Okay.
I'm trying to learn the language of the vampires.
AKA Hebrew?
Well, Yiddish also, but
I mean, that's not a...
No, Yiddish is a dialect of German.
Yeah.
It is more Germanic. It's written with Hebrew letters, which is crazy. Like there's no way in hell I can pronounce the majority of those things.
Guten Abend, Judenbrüder.
Gesundheit.
And unto you.
I said, good evening, my Jewish brother.
Oh, wow. Look at you being kind to a Jew in German. That's refreshing. And everybody feel
Way
refreshed.
to go for Sam Helsing.
Sam Helsing. I dig it. Anyway,
He
all right.
dubbed me that.
I like it. I like it a lot. Royce, I saw your hand raised first. What you got?
Yeah. So just one final thing. So as I said, so there were the three big no-nos. So denouncing God, bloodshed, and sexual immorality. And
Mhm.
with sexual immorality, it's specifically incest and adultery.
Fair.
And then just because somebody gets forgiven by God doesn't mean that there's not consequences, right? So like that for sure is a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Uh,
all.
all right, Norse Trucker. I see your hand raised, brother.
To Sam's comment there, no, it's something else actually. Niflheim is actually its own realm. It's what created the cosmos of uh Asgard in between, or no, sorry, Midgard. So
I
in
thought,
between Niflheim and Muspelheim became Gundagap, right?
Okay.
but I
So
thought it
and
was the king of Ymir that made that from his armpit
Mid
came out the Milky Way, and that's how we came. And then I think the Allfather, Odin, or his father, Bor, were the ones that
yeah,
created humanity. But
no.
the entire universe came from the frost giant Ymir being killed.
No, his bones are made out of the mountains. His flesh is made out of the grass, the trees, right? That's where he comes from. He is Midgard. The Norse gods Vili, Ve, and Odin went and killed the the first one, right? That's where that's how they went and created Midgard.
Yes, but Odin himself is actually only a one half giant, and that's why Thor, his son, is actually three quarters giant, one quarter Aesir.
Yeah,
And that and
that is true.
Thor's like yeah, and Thor's like the massive genocide of his own people, the Jotuns, which is a race. So not all the giants were like actually big. Giant was just a race. They came in all different forms and sizes.
Yeah, but the Jotuns are more of on the chaos side of things, where they were more of on the power struggle of uh creating rights and wrongs and everything like that. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I
Okay.
I completely understand.
So in
Yeah,
the
see,
Norse
but
religion, there is a realm that might be attributed to the place of eternal torment, so to speak.
there is, but I can't think of it off of the top of my head right now. But
Okay.
it's a part of the realm of hell.
And she's like
So
the
yeah.
presider over it then.
Yeah, and she's the presider over it.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
remind me now, what's the wolf mother's name?
The Wolf Mother,
Yeah,
Angerboda.
that's the one. I always get
That's
Hel and
Loki.
her confused.
No, Hell is actually like Sam said there. Hell is actually Loki's daughter
Hmm.
from Angerboda.
Angerboda and Loki had Hel.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
also Fenrir,
Fenrir, as in the wolf that's chasing, is it the
the
sun or the
wolf.
moon?
Fenrir is the one that
That's
kills Odin to eat him, and he's the one who bit off Tyr's hand.
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I think the two wolves that chase the sun and the moon is Hati and
I thought
fuck, I
Fenrir
can't
was
think
one
of
of
it.
these wolves. I wear the bracelet and shit. I thought one of them was Fenrir.
No, Fenrir is the one that's prophesied to kill Odin. He kills Odin, and Jormungandr's act. So Jormungandr, Hel, uh, yeah, Sleipnir, and
Sleipnir's the
Jormungandr,
horse.
Sleipnir. Yes, but they're all children of Loki.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which Loki is actually not the father of Sleipnir. He's actually the mother because he took the
Yeah.
form of a mare to get to try because the guy the giant that was building the wall around Asgard as a protective, the god that had a bet with him that, oh, you have only certain amount, so much time to actually build the wall, and if you do, yes, we'll give you Freya or Frigg, depending on which iteration.
It
Which Loki decide because they found out, oh hey, he's a giant and his horse is magic doesn't fucking get tired and it can just move tons of fucking material. So Loki decided to Odin said, hey Loki, you made the bet, you're gonna fix this shit. So Loki took the form of a mare to entice the stallion.
Yeah.
To yeah.
Yeah. Do the deed.
Yeah. All the things. Midnight
Everything.
Kong,
That
I
horse
see your
meat.
hand, brother.
Yeah, the one thing I guess in Christianity that didn't quite sit right with me sometimes is the fact that somebody could be like a murderer or a rapist all the way up until like, the last minute. And if, they give themselves their life to God,
Mm.
they will be washed of their sins. That never really sat right with me, but I know
Yeah.
it's not up to me, but
No, I have to agree with that. And that's one of the things that many Christians have struggled with for forever. Like I've heard, so you mean Hitler at the moment of his death, because he didn't kill himself in the bunker. We know that now. He made it to Argentina or Brazil, clearly, obviously. But if Hitler on his deathbed was truly and from his heart of hearts sorry, does that mean that he's in heaven and all these things? And it's like, I personally do not think so. But I'm also not God, and I can't like pass the judgment on that. And I agree. There are certain things that are spoken of in the Bible that truly take divine mercy to make sense, because I'm looking at it through a human perspective and through a human lens, and I know that that's a skewed place. Like the whole turn the other cheek thing. Listen, I get it. That song, try Jesus, but don't try me, because I throw hands. I love that song. And it's like, listen, I know that the Bible says turn the other cheek, but that's one thing that's never really sat right with me. And I get it. I'm a sinful man. I get it, but I'm not Jesus. I could try to be all I want, but I can't do it. So I'm with you on that for sure. Oh Lord, Sam, I'm afraid of what you're about to chime in with, but go for it.
So most people get that passage when they say, "But oh Lord, if they strike me, what shall I do?" And Jesus says, "Turn the other cheek." That's taken out of context.
Yeah.
In that day and age, and especially in the Jewish culture, which we have the resident vampire. It was to when they say turn the other cheek, is a lot of times the superior to the inferior, they would smack their right cheek with their right hand. To do that, you can't smack them with the open hand. No, you got to bitch slap them. So to say to turn the other cheek, it's to force them. Hey, no, you're not going to treat me like inferior. You're going to treat me as an equal. So it's more of a flex. But Jesus, being Jesus, he talks in parable because the human mind is too fucking stupid to actually understand his words or to actually take heed of what he's saying. So there you go.
No doubt.
But
I've heard,
and everyone thinks Jesus is this hippie, like do unto others what you will have do unto them. Keep in mind, this is when they asked what would Jesus do, all kind of saying like what would your Jesus do? You're not acting very Christian. Well, Karen, Jesus has flipped tables and fashioned a bullwhip to whip the authority out of his father's house. So Jesus will flip tables and throw hands. Like the man was a carpenter.
yeah, people misinterpret him as a whole. There is such a thing as righteous rage, in my opinion. However, most humans, I would say, are more reactive rather than they are way more prone to go off of the first instinct rather than have a calculated decision to do something that they understand is out of righteousness. And so, yes, I agree with you, though.
They're very reactive.
Do what?
They're reactive, not proactive.
Yeah. And I will say that, when people say, what would Jesus do? It's like, keep in mind that making a bullwhip and beating the shit out of people is definitely within the realm of possibility, for sure. Royce, I see your hand. There's a greater than 0% chance. Yes. Royce, what you got, man?
All I was going to say is that also with King David, we know it was a king after God's own heart, and he did a lot of great things. If you read the book of Psalms, they're not all great. Like there is a psalm that literally talks about smashing babies on rocks. So sometimes when you're in war
be doing war shit. I feel that.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I had to readjust my camera just now. Oh, what's going on with my ring light? But yeah, no, I mean, but I'm also not saying that it's justified to smash babies' heads on rocks either. You got to look at the greater context to see, like, well, who was the tribe they were fighting? Are we sure that this was pure humans that they were fighting at that time and things?
I
Well,
would love that thought that like it's only against the Nephilim, and like I don't know if I completely agree with that.
I'm not saying that that is the case or not. I'm saying that, and it's been a while since I read into this passage, but whenever he said to go into the land and kill everything, even the animals, there's those that believe that this is because we as humans couldn't tell the difference between a animal hybrid, human hybrid, obvious giant, or whatever. So best to just, torch everything, kill everything, salt the earth, this type of thing.
So
Go ahead.
So Jewish thought on that is that there were magicians in the Amalekite people and they could transform themselves into animals.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's a magical thing, not that we can't tell the difference, but like because their magic was actually strong and powerful.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by the context. Per what they were told and the reason why they were told, like why would they be told to kill the children? Because there was some sorcery afoot, and we didn't know if these children were actual children or not, or these animals, and like all the things. And I'm not saying that was justification for people to do things later on. I'm saying in the time and place that these commands were given, they were to be carried out to the letter of the word, which is why it was such a big deal whenever Saul didn't actually kill the king. Was it Agag? And Solomon actually had to come and slit his throat and things, which is a whole...
Yep, and then after that it became, and it continued through Haman and the Persians, and the whole story of Esther happened because Saul didn't kill the king.
Yeah,
I thought it was the prophet Elijah that slaughtered the prophets that slaughtered the prophets of Baal and their king.
Different story. So right when Saul lost his kingship was because God commanded him to wipe out the Amalekite people, and he kept the king alive. And actually, besides that, he also kept the animals alive too. So it was the prophet that the next day slaughtered the king, but before that, like the king had a chance to get jiggy with it, and he had progeny, and which is why we have a lot of evil in the world still.
The prophet's name was Samuel.
What did I say? I said Solomon. I meant Samuel. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was getting Samuel and Elijah mixed up because they both slaughtered the. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I've said this before. I recommend people go watch the show The House of David. It opens with that scene, and I think that there is also a pretty decent shot to say of why Saul started going crazy. And yes, I understand that this is God seeking his retribution on him for his own wickedness. Yes, agreed. There's also a pretty decent chance that it's because the king who was left alive and was he was basically using him as a war trophy and like chained him up and all this. How do we know that this evil king wasn't casting spells on him the entire time? And like that's what led him to lose his mind. And this is all done with God's like permission because he disobeyed the word of. There's levels to it, and it may not be the case, but it's also pretty decent. It's one of those things that's like it's a creative liberty that the show took. However, it doesn't take away from the storyline in any way, and it is a possibility that could also apply biblically speaking as well. But yeah, it's a phenomenal show. Go ahead, Sam.
So I was under the impression the thing that brought Solomon down was the fact that God told him, "Hey, do not be worshiping any other gods. I am your God. Stop." And
we're talking about Saul,
and do
not Solomon.
Well, I thought Solomon got brought up. Was it Solomon or Saul that had the 900?
Oh yeah, no, that was Solomon, but that was David's kid. I'm talking about King Saul, who was the king and was a righteous king and all these things, and then David took the crown from him. So Saul went crazy for a bit there because he was told to go kill all the Amalekites, and he left the king alive. and used him like oh, look at this war trophy I brought. Let's mock him now. And it's like, then he, obviously disobeyed the prophet Samuel as the one that actually killed the king and slit his throat.
And so which of them was the ones that went to the Witch of Endor to try to, through necromancy, which was a grave sin, tried to contact with the prophet Samuel?
That
then
would be
Samuel
Solomon.
actually,
Wait.
who wasn't he supposed to
No.
be the most
That's Saul. That's Saul. Saul's wife went and reached out to a witch to try to aid his mental breakdown. She turned her back.
Witch of Endor.
Yes. She turned her back on her God and reached out to pagan witches that were outlawed in the land at that time, brought her into the king's court so that she could perform spells and shit on him to try to aid him. And it only worked for a short time, and then it went downhill quickly because obviously, it's a wild story. It really is. But anyway, but the point we were making. Go ahead.
Like, why isn't, like, I'm 100%, I believe the magic is still here on this planet.
For sure.
But why, like, necromancy, 100% is still a thing. I'm pretty sure that's what old dickhead on that island was trying to do.
Something like it, for sure.
And plus, Epstein was a legitimate prophet of Baal, dog.
I think he had a lot of shit going on, but that was definitely one of them, for sure. I'm not denying that he was in communion with Satan by all means.
He's Palm Beach Pete now.
Yeah, I think that might be a clone, dude.
I don't think it's a clone. I think that's actually him. He has the same stutter. He has everything about him is the exact same, the same tattoo in the same spot, living in the same fucking house.
Yeah.
So, look, cloning has been a thing since the fucking 70s, granted. But at the same time, most clones aren't going to be 100% exact on. Even with identical twins, and bitches aren't 100% the same.
That's very true.
So,
yeah, Palm Beach Pete got some shit with him. That's a fact. But anyway.
He was on a thing saying that how many people my age get to hang out with young women. I'm like, which a lot of them are like teens and shit. And I'm like,
I don't know. I'm not saying that he is absolutely Epstein. I'm saying that there is a chance. There's absolutely a chance of it. But I also believe that Epstein, although he was brazen and bold, I think that now that the jig was up, he would at least flee the country. He would go live in Israel. He would go live in Russia, or he would go live in France or any of his other locations. But it's also very much in line with him to be hiding in plain sight, saying, fuck the world, I made it out kind of thing too. Both are very, yeah.
His Fortnite account that he's been playing since Fortnite came out is active. Guess where it's active at?
Mm-hmm.
Tel Aviv.
But didn't they just shut that down? I know it was active up until like 2 months ago. Is it still active?
From what I've seen, yeah.
Oh, Lord. I didn't know that. I thought they had finally shut it down. It's like, they caught me. And it's like, no, dude. But that's my point. I thought that Epstein would be in Israel or something like that. It's also very possible he's still living in Palm Beach and under the new persona Palm Beach Pete, just to screw with people and just throwing middle fingers to the sky. Both of these are very possible, Anyway. So let's see here. We're in the chat for just a second here. You're not convincing Bible. Wait. What the fuck? What did I miss here? I'm just learning that Jehovah's Witness can't look at superhero media because superheroes are Nephilim. It's an astute, correct take in my opinion. Yeah, the Jehovah's Witness have a lot of obscure rules that they have to follow. And that's one of them. Everybody knows like they can't celebrate birthdays and they can't, do it's a wild thing. So do the Mormons. It still blows my mind that people classify the Mormons as Christian. Like by almost no standard or metric are they Christian at all, actually. But yeah, that's Jehovah's Witness are kind of, in my humble opinion, in the same umbrella as they might proclaim Christ. They may claim certain things out of the Bible, but I don't believe that they are actually living in communion with the true faith. And the reason why I say that is more of a doctrinal reason. I have nothing against people that are Jehovah's Witness. Well, some of them, mostly because they're smug bastards that all think they're going to be a part of the number of the 144,000 that make it to heaven. And it's like, out of the entire history of the earth, out of every human being that's ever walked the earth, only 144,000 are going to get to heaven. And you are that sure that you are that righteous that you are going to be a part of that number. That is a bold claim in my opinion. But you know, no disrespect to any of the good people out there that are just trying to live their life, you know. Royce, go ahead.
Speaking of religions not being recognized, did you see the article from Pete Hegseth, who got rid of like over 100 and some odd different religions that were recognized from the military?
Yeah. And I didn't look at what the list said on it, but I remember he's basically cracking down on. So whenever he called all the generals and all the admirals to Quantico, Virginia to have their big conversation, and he was like, all right, we're done with the beardos. Okay, we do not have an entire military of Norse pagans who are allowed to have beards for religious principles. Okay, there are some, and I understand that. We the numbers indicate a crazy amount of people proclaiming to be Norse pagan that could not pass a very basic test of Norse paganism if they had to. These are people that are taking advantage of the rules and the lackadaisical approach we have had to grooming standards and things like this. And there are some obscure religions that people will claim that they're a part of to get some sort of exemption or to get some sort of, special treatment in certain regards. And then there are some people that truly are these religions. Like, what was the one, the Sikh, who, after fighting the good fight, is finally allowed to grow a beard and wear the turban in BDU and all these things, which is like, that's excellent. There's a few Native Americans who are allowed to wear feathers in uniform because of their true, not just their culture and, oh, I'm Native American, so I could do this. No, like this is a true part of their religion, and they were able to like fight that fight and win it. I think the dude, it's actually pretty sick, nasty, dude. This dude's in the Army. I think he's a major now, and he wears 3 feathers, and that's like signals within his tribe of combat shit that he did. And he wears this in his dress uniform, and it's like, okay, pause, everybody stop, let the man be. He's over here doing gangster shit in the name of the red, white, and blue. What are we doing here? You know what I mean? But yeah, there's some of these obscure religions are just that. Like, for instance, the Pastafarians, and we've talked about them a bit, right? May the great flying spaghetti monsters, noodly appendage reign forever. Ramen. Like, this is not a religion that we need to actually allow. Like, the people should not be able to wear a colander in their pictures to go on their cat cards. That's ridiculous. That denigrates. That's not a thing that we should just be cool with. So I haven't looked at the whole list. Some of these I'll probably agree with. Some of them I might disagree with. But yeah, Hegseth is definitely one of the more consequential Department of War secretaries that we have had, I would say probably period ever. But yeah, it's that shit that's going on right now. Hold on, Sam, I see you, but Tony had his hand raised first. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I got a few things. Epstein did flee to Israel for a little while before 2008, but Israel persuaded him to return to the United States to face prosecution because it was his first offense. And he did so, and then the rest is history after that. And then he got caught the second time, and that's when he was really screwed by 2019. The other thing, I don't know, this is just my opinion, but I consider Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons to be Christian. I figure if anyone just says they're Christian, I take them at their word for it if they say they believe in Jesus. And I'm not really strict on Trinitarianism, even though I believe in it.
That's fair. But I mean, as far as let's just go off the Mormons for a moment. They do acknowledge the Bible, but they don't acknowledge it to be the true and divinely inspired word. Most Mormons that I know could only quote some of the main stories, but they can't actually find deeper meaning in it because they are more focused on the Book of Mormon. And they don't listen to the early church fathers. They listen to what's their version, not the prophets or the council or whatever it is. This is sorry.
The elders.
Yeah. That's right. The elders. And it's, in my opinion, if you look at them doctrinally, what they believe, how they pray, how they repent, how they live, I don't think we can actually classify them as a Christian denomination. They are. This would be like calling Eastern Orthodox Catholic. Like,
I think Mormonism is a little closer to Islam for sure, because they started with Christianity and then they added their own revelation to it. But the Jehovah's Witnesses didn't even do that. So I would say between the two, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're sola scriptura Protestants, as far as I'm concerned. They're just non-Trinitarian. I've never understood why the Trinitarianism is such a huge deal. All I know is that we're supposed to believe in it. So I go, yes, sir, fine.
that's fair. And like I said, I don't really have a strong opinion on the Jehovah's Witness. I've looked in their doctrine before. And, we may even talk about that deeper on a later episode. But there is a few things that they believe and the things that they abide by that I think actually go directly against what we would call modern day Christendom. Aside from Trinitarianism, more of their the mechanics of their religion, I think actually kind of go against what we as Christians are supposed to be doing. But we could talk about that on a later episode.
One last thing. They don't believe it's only 144,000. They believe there's a great multitude that'll go to heaven. And for more information, the 144,000 comes straight out of Revelation. It's not some weird gematria numerological stuff. It's straight in there. So it is there.
I've heard the thing saying that's just the saints. But then in an earlier portion of the Bible, it says that we are saints. We are supposed to be saints. Not that we're supposed to emulate saints. We are supposed to be saints on earth, the followers of Christ, the feet of Jesus, the hands that are supposed to be healing, the mouth that is supposed to be preaching. We are supposed to be those saints. We are sanctified by the grace of God. Therefore, whenever it's talking about 144,000 saints in the end times, they're talking about the 144,000 Christians that made it to heaven. And again, it's been a minute since I looked into it. I'll look into it more and we could talk about it at a later time. But the few Jehovah's Witnesses that I met and talked to that actually left the faith because of some of these doctrinal teachings, that's what kind of started. It's been like over a decade since I really dug into the JWs. But yeah, okay. We could talk about it later on, man, for sure. Sam, what you got?
So the JWs and the Mormon and everything, I wouldn't necessarily say they're Christian, and I don't really think they're a traditional Abrahamic religion, and I don't even really get down with the quote unquote Abrahamic term, but no, I agree with Tony. They're very Islamic. They both of them believe an angel came down and gave them golden tablets and shit.
Yeah.
But funny enough, talking about the 210 religions that was cut by Pete Hegseth. Funny enough, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was going through my my season of doubt and everything. I actually had as a joke, but not really. I kind of love Star Wars. I mean, I had Jediism as the religion on my dog tags.
Yeah.
I to the point, actually me and like between 6 and 10 of my buddies that I was in my platoon and everything, we'd get in a circle and everything and actually meditate and everything and actually go off of like the established rule of the Jedis, which is based off of the Hindus, the Buddhists, and the Taoists.
Yeah,
and
I'm hoping that, and if I'm pissing off Star Wars nerds on this one, I'm sorry. Y'all know I'm not a fan of the franchise, but I am hoping that
better than the Trekkies.
I kind of don't see a difference. I'm going to be honest. This is a same in my personal book. I'm not trying to offend. I am not trying to offend. As somebody who cannot get into either franchise, I see them as basically two flavors of the same Coke. You know what I'm saying? This is Coke with lime versus Coke with vanilla.
No, see, Star Trek is full of those dirty commies. Okay?
Okay, fair enough. But I am hoping that Jediism was on the list of religions that are no longer going to be accepted within the military. Personally, I think having a religion based off of a movie franchise and books written in the 1900s is crazy. But to circle back to the point we were making earlier, with the Mormons and the yes, that's I'm segueing that way. Mormons and JWs and all this would be equivalent to saying that, oh, the Nation of Islam, well, they're true Muslims. I would respectfully disagree. Sure, they might read out of the Quran and they may put on a big show, but what Farrakhan teaches to his congregation is not the same thing that the imams teach in any other sect of Islam. And the same thing with the JWs and the Mormons. It's the same as like the, we're a part of the Hebrew Israelites. The people that believe that if you're black, you are a true Hebrew Israelite and all these things. They're not practicing true Judaism. And that's crazy to say so. Yeah, they might be reading out of certain Hebrew texts, but if you look at what they preach to their congregates, it is not the same thing that you would hear in a synagogue or a temple. So I put
very black supremacist.
Well, right. Taking away
the Nation of Islam and the Black Israelites.
Taking away the overt racism within them, I'm talking strictly doctrinal teachings, which I know you can't really separate the two even whenever you look into their doctrine. But if you were to do this, it's the same thing as saying like, oh, Jehovah's Witnesses are Christian. It's like, look, they might read out of the Bible sometimes, but they are not preaching anything that would be preached in any type of denomination of Christendom. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, and we are going to get to talking about the world events and the obscure things that are going on in our world today. Starting off, I think it's only right that we start off with the B-52 that just recently went down, and we do need to have a moment to hear these people's names and hear about what happened to them. RIP, thoughts and prayers to the family and all the things. The names of the crashed B-52 crew has been released.
From our 17 follow-up file, we turn now to our continuing coverage of that B-52 crash at Edwards Air Force Base that killed 8 people earlier this week. Air Force brass tonight have released the names and ranks of the 8 military men, government contractors, and Boeing workers who were all on board that B-52 Stratofortress. Here's 17's Connor Dorr with more.
53-year-old Weapons Systems Officer Colonel Gregory Watson from Shreveport, Louisiana. 40-year-old Weapons Systems Officer Lieutenant Colonel Gabriel Estrella, who lived on the base. 50-year-old Weapons Systems Officer retired Lieutenant Colonel Miles Middleton, a pilot and Boeing worker from Tehachapi. 34-year-old Weapons Systems Officer Major Alexander Davis from Lancaster. 40-year-old Major Robert D. and 35-year-old Major Brad Hovey, both pilots, both lived on the base. 32-year-old Flight Test Engineer Jeremy Smith from Rosamond, and 41-year-old Christopher Rischar, a Flight Test Engineer from Lancaster. 8 men, all dead after a B-52 Stratofortress crashed just minutes after takeoff. Here is minute-by-minute radar video. The plane takes off just before 11:10 a.m. on Monday, reaching 6,800 feet. 3 seconds after takeoff, the plane banks northeast and drops 300 feet in altitude. 12 seconds later, the Stratofortress takes a sharp left, now at 5,500 feet in altitude. Another 12 seconds and another sharp left. The aircraft makes a complete 180 from where it took off, and in those short seconds, dropped 1,300 feet in altitude. The flight path stops on Edwards Air Force Base's runway, where the Stratofortress wreckage was seen on aerial video. The 196-foot by 185-foot aircraft was just ash in the desert. The flight tracker is not able to show the speed of the plane. However, the altitude shows the plane fell around 10 times faster than the landing of a normal passenger plane. The Associated Press spoke to an aviation safety expert that said it could be a control system or an engine failure. The Air Force said the investigation could take 6 months and that investigators are going to look at how quickly the crash came. There are multiple GoFundMes family members of victims in the crash have made. If you would like to donate, go to kget.com.
Thoughts and prayers go out to the families of all of our lost service members and flight engineers. Sam, go ahead. I see your hand raised.
Rest in peace to them and rest in peace to Grandpa Buff. But I can't help to think, did they because we all know our government is shady like that. Could they have done this deliberately, but unbeknownst to the crew, as a way to distract people from the failed terrorist attack at the UFC event, the Epstein list, and the fact that the Iran bullshit? I can see this being a way to distract and everything, but at the same time, I really do feel bad for those lost souls and their families.
So you know me being the conspiracy theorist that I am, I hear what you're saying. However, for this one, all evidence that I can see as of this moment would indicate that this really was just a true accident and wasn't a planned event to distract. Now, if more information comes out about that later, we gonna talk about it.
Are they gonna try to use this as a justification to get rid of Grandpa Buff, like they're trying to use all the justifications to get rid of my crackhead Red Bull dispenser, also known as the Warthog?
No, I have looked into this. The B-52 has line items that are attributed to it for the next 50 years. It's not going anywhere, at least anytime soon, unless they can find another air platform that can do what it does more efficiently for cheaper, which good luck.
I don't
Yeah.
think there will be another platform that can change topography in less than 30 seconds.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Less than 30 seconds and for cheaper. I don't think that the B-52 is going anywhere anytime soon. Every few years they talk about taking it out, but then you can also look at the government planned spending, or at least the projected spending for certain air platforms. Yeah, no, B-52 ain't going nowhere. But anyway,
I want to be buried in one.
I mean, I guess that's an option. But speaking of the Iran situation, let's go ahead and talk about this. So Trump is talking about spending $300 billion, big boy billions, on the problem on the Iran agreement. Let's talk about this. So President Trump's nascent agreement with Iran is beset by problems right now, as many conservatives balk at it, rightfully so. But at the top of this list may be the issue of money flowing to Tehran. In an interview with CBS News Monday morning, Vice President J.D. Vance seemed to tactily confirm the premise that Iran could be given quote-unquote access to a reconstruction fund worth as much as $300 billion. Ever since that interview, the administration has strained to clarify things. It has emphasized that this money wouldn't come from the U.S. taxpayers. So where's it coming from, you might be wondering? Instead, it would be money from other Gulf countries that would only be available if Iran complies with a peace deal. So we are expecting Qatar and UAE and Saudi and all, we're expecting these Gulf nations to pitch in to upwards of $300 billion if Iran signs this deal. These are countries that Iran fired upon to hit us. Just so we're clear, it wasn't like they were trying to kill the leaders of these nations. They were trying to hit our assets in the areas, and most of them missed, and we're expecting that all the Gulf nations are just going to chime in as long as Iran plays by the rules. That's a very bold claim, but let's see. Vance said late Monday on Fox News that, quote, we would invite other countries, not us, but other countries, to invest in Iran. He echoed that Tuesday, telling Megyn Kelly that the U.S. wouldn't let the UAE, for example, invest in Iran unless the Iranians changed their behavior. Okay. Except, fair enough, except these are distinctions that Republicans, and Trump especially, have dismissed or even excoriated. Good Lord. I don't think I've ever actually seen that word written out. Okay.
It means tear the heart out of something.
Excoriate. I'm going to add that to my own personal lexicon. That's a good word. And that's when the dollar amount was significantly smaller than $300 billion. When the Obama administration and other countries cut a nuclear deal with Iran in 2015, it included giving Iran access to billions of dollars. In that case, it wasn't money from other countries, but instead Iran's own assets that had been frozen in foreign banks under sanctions. Estimates generally place the dollar figure around $50 billion. But this nuance was almost always absent from Trump's rhetoric. He said the concession amounted to providing the world's leading sponsor for terrorism with a financial windfall, even falsely claiming it was in cash. He cast it as unthinkable and a sign of American leaders' weakness and poor negotiating skills. Those comments could come back to bite him today. This is a direct quote here. Iran receives a windfall of $150 billion, which would no doubt fund terrorism around the world. He wrote this in a September 2015 op-ed in USA Today. Trump often cited the inflated figure to $150 billion. He said that same month in Oklahoma City that, quote, we're giving them $150 billion in order to create terror all over the world. At a December 2015 Republican presidential debate, Trump called it a horrible, disgusting, absolutely incompetent deal with Iran where they get $150 billion, adding they are a terrorist nation. I just don't understand how we could have made a deal where we're giving somebody that's a terror nation $150 billion, he said next month in Iowa City. In Iowa City, probably another campaign rally, if I had to guess. The situations aren't completely parallel in that unfrozen Iranian assets aren't the same as money from other countries, but both involve money that isn't from U.S. taxpayers, but is suddenly being made available to Iran as an incentive in a deal. Republicans had frequently argued in 2015 that such money was fungible, quote unquote. Fungible. Y'all remember those NFTs? Non-fungible tokens, and then we see what they're worth now, and it's like, well, it seems like they were pretty fucking fungible to me, homie. And anyway, i.e. that even if the funds can't be used directly for terrorism, they could be used to replace money that could then be diverted for terrorist uses. Trump returned to the talking point amid tensions with Iran late in his first term and during his failed 2020 presidential reelection race. So they paid $150 billion, $150. Think of that. He said the White House event in September 2019. And how can you possibly do a thing like that? They paid all that money in cash. Again, the U.S. did not pay the money in cash, and it wasn't $150 billion. He added, after ordering the killing Iran commander Qasem Soleimani, either way, in January 2020, that, quote, the Obama administration enabled and emboldened the Iranian regime. They gave him $150 billion, including $1.7 billion in hard, cold cash. Can you imagine? So he's been on this one for a while, y'all. He really has. The Iran nuclear deal signed by President Obama gave him $150 billion, and that's when the real terror started. Trump added the next day in an interview with Fox News. And toward the end of the 2020 campaign, Trump repeatedly predicted that if Joe Biden won the election, similar deals would result. I'm not going to read the quote, but in 2020 in Yuma, Arizona, he basically said the same thing. Even after losing the 2020 election while campaigning for GOP Senate candidates in Georgia runoff, Trump warned of a repeat. So again, even later that year, he did the same thing. On Monday, Trump's own vice president suggested Iran could be given access to a fund with even more than that. So all of this, for years, he has been talking mad shit about giving Iran money. And now somehow Iran's about to get a pretty fat payday. And I don't grasp the concept. If it is going to be donated from other Gulf states, okay, cool. That's none of my business. I don't really care. I just have a real hard time seeing that come through to fruition. I don't know. We will see how it goes. Well, then let's go ahead. This is him signing the deal in France. We're not going to watch the whole thing. There's no real commentary on it, but this is him sitting next to Macron, and Trump is signing the Iran deal by hand at a palace dinner in Versailles with Macron.
Yes. Bravo.
Good job. Great job.
So listen, we will see what happens of this. Honestly, I'm hoping and praying to the good Lord Almighty that the whole Iran situation gets wrapped up sooner rather than later. Look, y'all know me. War is good for our economy. It's the only thing that America's really good at. I think we've only had 18 years of peace in the entirety of our history. That's just what we do. But if it's just us having to flex our war legs, which I understand you got to do that to keep the blade sharp, I'm here for it. But there are tons of places that could really use some help, some outside intervention right now, more so than Iran. And let's not forget the fact that the entire situation with Iran, is their nuclear program. Okay, fine, sure. We could have that conversation. But Israel is a capable nation that is right there. Iran and Israel are number one enemies of each other, and they could have handled this without America at all. Meanwhile, they've done nothing to help us with Iran. All they've done is push into Lebanon. You see what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. We could have been using our military might to absolutely destroy the cartels, not just taking out the leaders of, which we have, and that's wonderful, and I'm here for it. But we could have actually decimated the drug cartels in Central and Latin America. We could have absolutely stopped the genocide in Africa of Christians by Islamic extremists. We could have, there's so many things we could have been doing in this time, spending this money and the resources and the weaponry to do and make some real change happen. And Iran it wasn't really high on the priority list, honestly. And now everybody was talking, I remember last week or the week before, people were talking about America invading Cuba. I have a real hard time believing that's about to go down too, but I have been wrong before. I don't know. But anyway, go ahead, Sam.
Phase of Pigs 2.0. Maybe the CIA will get it right this time.
Possibly. I mean, but that's the deal. The president of Cuba isn't at odds with us right now. We're not homies, but they're not an enemy of us either necessarily. They were trying to do that thing where they were going to extradite Castro's brother or whatever it was, the guy that shot down those planes in the 90s, and that was like a whole big deal. They put him on the FBI warrant. He's like 89 years old or some craziness, and they were trying to extradite him to the US for justice and all of this. And it's like, listen, I hear what you're saying, but you're not going to use that as justification to launch a land invasion of Cuba. That's ridiculous. And if you are going to do some crazy middle of the night Maduro style bag and tag operation, just fucking do it. Quit talking about it. Just be about it. I don't know. I love the American war machine for so many things, but I hate that it is ran by the politicians. Go ahead, Sam.
Just so that I'm not the only one. I can't be the only one to think it's 2007 again. Emo is back in trends. We're fucking up the Middle East, and heavy metal is popping right now. So
yeah, we're about to enter an economic recession. We've got about 3 years. I'm convinced of it. It's almost a mathematical fact. As soon as you see Jinko jeans coming out, just like brace for impact. I'm about to start buying some real estate when that bubble crashes again. I'll tell you that much.
Can we bring back the bell bottoms and V cuts back? Shit. Can we go back to the 70s? Just not with all the rampant STDs and AIDS shit.
Shit, I don't know if you paid attention, brother. That is rampant right now.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah.
That's why I said, so our country has tested biological and chemical warfare on our own people. Look up Operation Sea Spray. Yep. So why? And there is a theory that the AIDS virus was created to wipe out the gay community, but yet no one realized that both Democrats and the Republicans both were fucking the pool boy. So it's like, why don't they just try to do that? But instead, the Chinese, they're using CRISPR. Which they believe with using CRISPR, they might find the cure to herpes in the next 5 to 10 years.
I don't know. I don't know why they do the things that they do. I don't pretend to know. I wish that smarter people were in charge of things.
We had a hypothetical gay bomb at one point in time.
I remember hearing about this, dude. I haven't really read into it. I heard about it and I was like, okay, because it's in the same conversation as you remember when they were searching for the gay gene for years. They were sure that they had pinpointed it, and then oh, wait a minute, you mean that's an impossibility to be genetically born that way? So your human biology is telling you to mate with the opposite sex for procreation and the survival of the species, and there's no genetic mutation or deformality that can be attributed to people being born gay. And it's we've known that. but they
So does that
spent.
mean it's a choice?
Say it again.
Question mark? Does that mean that being gay is a choice?
I am of the personal opinion, yes. But I'm,
I don't
I
mean that to be disrespectful, offensive to anybody, but like,
no, I don't, and I don't. Y'all know me. I'm not here to judge anybody for anything. That's between them and who they go to bed with. As long as everybody's a consenting adult, I don't really give a fuck. That's their deal. But yes, to answer your question, I am of the opinion that choosing sexual orientation or who you're attracted to is more often than not a result of past experiences, and in that regard, you could say it's a choice that is made, whether by your own will or not. But yeah, because then we get into murky waters of like kids that experience horrible shit that grow up and go to
just
be
horrible
attracted to
shit.
you know what I'm saying? Like, and I am not dipping my toes into that water. But all I'm saying is that genetically, it is impossible for somebody to be born gay without a drastic genetic mutation or deformality. And that's scientifically speaking, of course. And that's the other thing too. And I've said this before too, as far as like my opinion on homosexuality. I've said I disagree with it, not for any kind of religious reasons, strictly for nature. Like that's a thing in nature to where that's, if it was supposed to be, anyway, I don't want to get way off in the weeds on that one. Tony, I see your hand, brother.
Yeah, I would say that sexual orientation, like so many things, is partly a mutable and partly an immutable characteristic. And you could probably survey thousands of people, straight and gay, and find some genetic correlation that, if you got this gene, maybe you got a 20% higher chance of being gay. And they were finding stuff like that. You can find all kinds of stuff like that when you're doing statistical analysis, but none of it's really like 100% chance you're gay for sure. And I think the gay lobby and the trans lobby are doing everything they can to try to emphasize or get people to believe that it's an immutable characteristic, because then it's not appropriate for people to discriminate on that basis. But, I think it is permissible to discriminate on that basis and other bases, including immutables. But that makes me unpopular, of course. And
Right.
I'm glad we waited till long enough that YouTube won't probably get me in trouble for saying that.
No, I get you, man. And that's the thing, like you're saying, if you were to take a poll of certain demographics, certain nations, certain states, certain age brackets, whatever, that they tried that. They tried so hard to find it. And the best they could come up with is that certain cultures will inherently be more accepting of people in that mindset. But there's just simply nothing genetically, like nobody is born with a predisposition to be attracted to the same sex. That's scientifically, humans aren't built that way unless they have a true genetic mutation. And that's, you notice they were looking for the gay gene for years and years and years and years. All of a sudden, you didn't hear anything about it anymore. You didn't hear shit about gay gene research being done because they quietly realized that they couldn't find that and it was impossible. So they just stopped the research on it. Go ahead, Sam.
So you just preface it, you might have to cut this out due to YouTube and all, but you have me thinking, so if there's not a gay gene, then explain why people look at animals and go, yes, I want to be that / tap that. Like, what the fuck?
I will say that the human mind being a perverse place is not a nuanced topic.
Does it come from the Nephilim bloodline?
I think more of that goes along with trauma at an early age, actually. Yeah. I can't speak with authority on that, but that's just my humble opinion, and I could be very wrong. I don't know what makes a person want to have sex with an animal and be attracted physically to an animal when they're a human. I can't pretend to know, but
there are a lot of traumatized goats in the world.
I agree. And I also believe that the cultures that is happening in, you could look at a lot of indications from those specific cultures, not naming names, but they also have a lot of inbreeding, a lot of perversion that they preach and they teach, whether it's out of whatever religious text they worship or whether it's in just the cultural zeitgeist of that area. It's the same conversation to like pedophilia. Why is certain people? Oh, he was born that way. He's a minor attracted person. It's like, no, I'm sorry. That's a mental perversion. He is not genetically altered to be attracted to people under 13 years old. I'm sorry. There's no scientific basis to go off of for that. And to say that is in my opinion, a crime or enabling crime, which is equal, in my opinion.
But he's food for Chippy the wood chipper.
Yeah, he is absolutely food for the chipper. Anyway.
But they go too quick with that.
Yeah, I agree. So now let's talk about the Trump's Iran deal reopens the strait, but much remains to be done. So on Sunday, we talked about this. President Trump announced that on Truth Social that the deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. Congratulations to all. I hereby fully authorize the toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz and simultaneously herewith authorize the immediate removal of the United States naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow. Details of the agreement to be signed Friday have still yet to be officially published, though a U.S. official read the memo's text to reporters and another senior official provided further context. At first glance, it appears to create a process for opening the Strait of Hormuz in the short run and lays out 60-day timetable to address many of the remaining issues, including the details for constraining Iran's nuclear ambitions and the scope of sanctions, relief, and financial support for Iran. It surprisingly covers Israel's war with Hezbollah in Lebanon and raises the prospect that the United States military presence in the region is open to negotiation. That terrifies me. Needless to say, there are a lot of details to be negotiated, and if the past is prologue, good reasons to be skeptical that a comprehensive peace, even if reached, will hold. That's very, very true. Nonetheless, this could be seen as breaking a deadlock that has threatened the global economy, even if it puts on the table issues we may later come to regret. So that's pretty much all I'm going to read on this article here. We'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. The strait is allegedly open. The naval blockade is gone. We will see if Iran actually abides by it and doesn't charge tolls, and economies can get back to operating as they do. And hopefully our gas prices will come the fuck down because this is ridiculous. We can hope. We can pray. But as of this moment, I have a real healthy dose of skepticism on the situation, honestly. Tony, I saw you unmute yourself, brother.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Israel's going to keep bombing Lebanon. Israel is the main party that doesn't want this deal right now. They see this as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to take southern Lebanon, and they're not letting go. I think there's actually a pretty good chance that Iran would drop the tolls, but they've already won so much by imposing them because now there's a precedent for them to impose them again. And they'll probably do it again like before the end of the year, if they even eliminate the tolls at all within the next week. So I know I predict stuff and I'm wrong half the time, but I predict that this war is going to continue to simmer.
Yeah.
Next week, there's still going to be a couple strikes here and there, especially in Lebanon.
I 100% agree with that. And you know, you're onto something here as far as the victory for Iran. If for nothing else, they now have their one chokehold that they have always had as their ace in the hole, so to speak, was shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. And they haven't done it because it was bad for business and their business and all the things. Now that they have done it, and now that they have imposed a toll that some nations were willing to pay if it gave them that oil, you're right, this does set a precedence. And what's to say that then even if, let's say hypothetically, this peace deal does hold, and it you know, abides and all the things, cool, great. What's to say the next time that some wild shit pops off in the Middle East, because it will, because it's the Middle East, even if America was to pull out all of our military from all the bases, we completely abandon the Middle East, some wild shit's going to pop off there regardless, because it's the Middle East. It simply has to. Iran now knows that if they wanted to flex that muscle again, they can, and nations will pay the toll. It floored me that this was the world's opportunity to show Iran, yeah, sorry, you can try that. We're not we're not paying your toll. We're not playing your fucking games. No, you're not going to get in the way of our business. We could come together and crush you as a world power if we wanted to. And instead, these punk ass nations capitulated. And I'm not saying that because, well, they're not on America's team. I'm saying, like, bro, even China. And I understand that China and Iran are on friendly terms. I get that. But Xi didn't have to pay these tolls. He, with much flexing of his quote unquote military might, could have told Iran, like, hey, listen, you want to play your games with the Western powers, be my guest. You're not charging Chinese ships. And instead, he's like, well, what can we do? And it was Malta, South Korea, same thing. It's like, wait, why?
Well, South Korea and Japan especially need the oil, and Japan and China, yeah, they're going to agree to pay that toll if it sticks a finger in the eyes of the Americans.
I guess, but it still cost them extra to get the oil that they were going to get anyway. It seemed like it was a move in the way of weakness to me. And I don't understand why China paid it, because they could just get the oil from Russia, and they just signed a deal with America to buy Alaskan oil. Like they didn't have to do that, but they chose to. Japan and South Korea the same way. Like, bro, why? I don't understand.
Well, I think China did it to make the statement that they're on Iran's side and not on America's side, and Japan and South Korea did it because they desperately need oil.
But that's my point. So South Korea and Japan are American allies. Why didn't they just buy ours?
They did buy a little bit. There was a tanker that went to Japan, at least one that I'm aware of. There may have been more from America.
I don't know. I understand that. Enough. I understand geopolitics is a messy game, and it's about long-term strategy and all the things. I get that. I don't understand why they, and by they, I do mean just the royal they, because there was multiple nations that paid the tolls to get the oil and all the things. Like, man, we had a real shot as a world to tell them, like, yeah, you could flex that muscle, but we'll just go around it. And instead, people paid it. And it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm too cut and dry when it comes to this type of topic. Sam, go ahead, bro.
So, 2 parts. One, I can't tell you why China did it, though it's surprising considering South Korea and Japan and majority of Asia collectively fucking hates China. But like what was it? You said besides them going through the strait. Yeah, I can tell you why Britain did it. They've been debacled. I'll use the Queen's English. They done lost their bollocks.
Yeah,
what's his fuck face?
The UK has fallen, absolutely.
So has the French.
Yeah,
where they're all what was it? The UFC fight.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in here in a minute, but go ahead.
Did you see what I can't think of his name, but the guy who they won't never let him have a mic again. He went out and said straight up, Michelle Obama's a man.
Oh, you're talking about Sean Strickland?
No, Sean Strickland got escorted out. I was talking about the our melanated brother.
No, I'm trying to think. You're not Daniel Cormier.
No, he called out. He won the fight and he called out Pierre.
Oh shit! I didn't get to see the entire thing. I saw only a couple of the fights because I was flying.
I didn't get to really watch it, hardly any of them, but I caught the interviews that they gave after it. But yeah, he straight up on live TV said, Michelle Obama is a man. And I was like, my boy, you might actually get killed.
I mean, it's true. Big Mike is, in fact, a dude. So
there's a video of Big Mike on Ellen in the sweatpants dancing, and all you see is that fucking that log swinging.
Yeah, no, I was there. I seen it. You know what I'm saying? Well, not there. You know what I mean? On the screen, but yeah. Which we're also going to talk about the UFC fight with the foiled plot that there was, but also we're not going to mention it much on this episode. But it is worth mentioning that apparently Eric Trump reached out to Cormier, who was calling the fights, and asked, is any of these fights rigged? Because he wanted to place a bet on the fights and got caught with that. And he's saying that it wasn't true and all of this, and then took down all the posts, and it's a whole thing. So apparently Trump's kid was trying to bet on rigged fights at the White House. And it's like, bro, stop
That's
it.
a normal New Yorker thing. Like, boxing has been rigged by the mafia since fucking forever.
Yeah, but
So,
I'm not saying that I'm not saying the UFC is completely not rigged. I'm saying it is a whole lot harder to rig a UFC fight than a boxing fight.
Did you know that the UFC is written up just like WWE, not as sports, but as entertainment? Right?
I didn't know that, but I am saying that it's a lot harder to. Now, you could tell while watching a fight, you could, like, let's see these dudes go to the ground and you see this guy just go limp and just kind of whatever, and he lets himself get choked out. Sure, if you want to tell me that fight was rigged, I got you. I'm with you. Cool. It's very difficult to fake a TKO or a submission in the UFC. I'm not saying it's impossible. I have watched fights where it was very obvious, or fights where the ref called it when it was clearly not over, and it's like, I can't believe that fucking, Big John over here just called the fight early when clearly he was not down and out. But like, that has happened. That's the exceptions, though. That's not the standard. With boxing, with pro boxing, these days to see an actual fair and balanced fight is the exception.
Proof of the matter, they got the Paul brothers up that bitch, like, being so.
Yep. Exhibit A, which they are two of the most human beings that's ever been.
I know it's gonna sound like the pot calling the kettle black because I love professional wrestling, but I'm still gonna call a spade. So
yeah, no, 100% with you. All right, moving on to the next topic. Let's talk about the UFC planners of the UFC White House attack that wanted to jumpstart a revolution in the United States and how this plot was foiled. Let's check this out.
The FBI foiled a plot targeting the White House UFC event where President Trump was sitting ringside. Federal authorities have now arrested multiple suspects believed to be behind the alleged plot involving a wave of drones and snipers. The National News Desk's Matt Galka joining us live. And Matt, it sounds like law enforcement got wind of this just in time to prevent what could have been a horrible tragedy.
Yeah, FBI Director Kash Patel said things started happening last week when they discovered some of this, and now the FBI has arrested 5 people so far from a group allegedly plotting to attack that UFC fight held on the White House South Lawn over the weekend. The suspects are from around the country, and investigators recovered weapons and large amounts of ammunition along with messages that seem to lay out a detailed plan for the attack. Court documents say around 20 people were messaging about the attack in encrypted text and also on social media. The alleged plot involved multiple waves featuring drones armed with explosives meant to scare the crowd. There were about 4,000 people at the White House itself and around 100,000 at a watch party nearby, according to estimates. The plan then allegedly involved snipers targeting the crowd and a so-called second wave attack on the White House itself. We spoke to a former FBI special agent about the complex security measures law enforcement has to take with that event, the World Cup, and America 250 celebrations going on at the same time.
The Bureau had already been warning about the possibility, and Homeland Security had also been warning about the possibility that drones could be used in such a way against some of these large-scale events. But this, nonetheless, is a wake-up call that the threat is real.
Now, one of the suspects, 19-year-old Tyson Proper, was arrested in Ohio. He waived his right to a hearing. He'll remain in custody. Court documents from Proper indicated the group was looking to jumpstart a revolution with the attack that was allegedly meant to target politicians who were pro-Israel and elites who attended the fight.
Okay, so let's talk about that more in depth. This is from the U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Nebraska. So 5 men arrested and charged in a plot to attack and kill government officials and others attending the UFC at the White House. So let's read about this. The Justice Department, along with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Nebraska, announced today charges against 5 men for an alleged plot to carry out an attack to kill the guy. I just read all that. The FBI launched an investigation into the plot and identified a group of conspirators who procured weapons and made plans to carry out the attack. The FBI made arrests over the weekend in Ohio, Missouri, Nebraska, and California. The investigation remains ongoing. So we're going to jump down to read about these individuals here. So the names themselves: Tyson Proper, 19 years old, of Danville, Ohio; Brian Roa, 24, of Clemeza, California; Michael Thomas, 32, of Pinon Hills, California; Daniel Eskridge, 32, of Kidder, Missouri; and Abraham Alvarez, 31, of Omaha, Nebraska. So we're going to read a little bit about the individuals themselves, starting with Abraham Alvarez. According to charges filed in Nebraska, the FBI identified Alvarez as the individual using the name Shepard in an encrypted chat app and that was used to plan the attack on the UFC on the Freedom 250 event scheduled to be held at the White House on June 14th. The FBI assessed that Alvarez, also known as Shepard, was responsible for planning, organizing, and directing the planned attack based on conversation excerpts in June when Shepard posted, quote, "This is the best action I see. Position your teams in the purple dots, counter snipers and drones, long range, circle area, great shot, easy out into the river." Shepard also allegedly posted other messages, including replying to another member on making drones with explosives. Quote, "As many and as deadly as we can get." That he was working on drones and had one drone and was working on more. The complaint further alleges that Shepard provided a picture and directions for a safe zone at an old church in Nebraska. He instructed the other members to take back roads or the river down to the pickup location. Later that same evening, Shepard also provided locations in the area for drone launch points and sniper positions. So this is the screenshot of the old abandoned church that was supposed to be the safe zone. Now let's talk about Tyson Proper. According to the file, complainants in the Southern District of Ohio, the Western District of Missouri, the District of Nebraska, and Central District of California, investigators interviewed Proper at a medical facility on June 11th. During an interview, he allegedly said he had planned with others a coordinated attack against the U.S. government during the UFC event at the White House. He said members of the group who wanted to participate in the attack began communicating with each other around March. More serious members of the group, including Proper, moved their communications to an encrypted chat app. They planned to fly small drones with explosives to detonate over the north side of the UFC arena, forcing high-value targets to evacuate the premises. The group would then act as snipers and shoot these individuals. Before executing the plan, Proper and other conspirators allegedly planned to rendezvous in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So this is pictures from the chat app, and you can see, like, this is the best action I see. Bop, bop, bop. He's got purple dots and like a circle spot here where it was supposed to all be launched from, all the things, pictures of the White House lawn from an aerial view, all of this. These are screenshots and maps on Proper's phone from the complaint filed in the District of California. Proper allegedly amassed firearms, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and tactical gear at his home in Ohio, and he identified potential targets, including members of Congress. This is a picture of Proper's gun, which I'm just going to say it. The picture of his gun is on top of an e-tool. For those that don't know, an e-tool or an entrenchment tool is one of those collapsible shovels that we used to like dig fighting positions and shit like that. My brother, you're trying to dig a fighting hole on your attack on DC? You're just gonna dig a hole right there in the middle of the Capitol Mall area next to the Washington Monument? Nobody's gonna see it? I guess. And then let's also point out the fact that he was about to use a bullpup. Come on now. Have at least a modicum of respect. And then can we also acknowledge the fact that this bullpup weapon is painted with the American flag? Stop that. Stop that right now. We're American. Bullpups are gay. I'm sorry. I've tried shooting them before. Some of them are okay. The AUG is cool. But I personally do not like reloading my armpit. That's just me. That, I don't. Yeah, anyway, yes, Sam, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just gotta preface it. The bullpup is fucking trash. Be a real man. Have the explosion in front of your face, not behind your head. Gotta be a man about it.
There's a few applications where I could see a bullpup being a useful tool, especially when you're doing like CQB and you're doing room clearing and stuff like that, and you need something with high velocity, but also to be a shorter barrel and things. Okay, fine. Situation dictates, and I get that.
Which, you know, I'm CQB. I've always heard of CQC, like close quarters combat. But I don't know why everyone says CQB. I don't think one and the same, but I can understand because the bullpup, like the chamber and everything, it's a lot more compact than the AR platform. But my dog, you're on America. You painted the American flag on the damn thing. At least use a fucking AR. See, this is why I think it's actually probably be the FBI plant and everything. Like,
Maybe.
oh look, America, fuck yeah, they're using the gay ass bullpup.
That's where I'm at with it too. I don't understand it, but thankfully he didn't disgrace himself by trying to actually go through with that piece of equipment.
Would it be a 223-556 or like a fucking 9mm?
No, look at the size of that mag. That's not no 9mm.
That's true.
I would like to think that that's a 308 or a 7.62. I could be wrong, but judging by the curvature of that mag plus the width of this, it appears to be that caliber to me. I could be wrong. I'm not a master of all firearms.
There's no way that it's small arms because it's gonna have to be a bigger round because there's no way that has enough space for 30 rounds.
No, absolutely not. That's a 20 round mag. If any,
if that, maybe 15.
But like you said, he was in California, wasn't he? So like that was all. Maybe that's a 10 round mag because that's all they're allowed to have, or whatever the fuck. I don't know.
I thought they could only have a single shot, and then like at the most maybe a 22 because it's gay commie California.
Man, maybe, but at the same time, if this dude was willing to launch an attack on Washington D.C., maybe he wasn't too worried about the parameters of the law. I don't know.
Evidently, he put a shovel on his gun. He's gonna dig him a grave and say, "Fuck it, I'm dying here."
Like he just had a bunch of quote unquote tactical gear. By tactical gear, do you mean a fucking e-tool? You mean the collapsible shovel? We're classifying that as tactical gear now. There is only one confirmed kill with the e-tool that I know of.
I'm pretty sure that we had some boys killing Nazis with them in the trenches.
I said confirmed. I only know of one confirmed story. I'm sure that there was more, but I only know of one.
I know of a story of a corporal taking his NCO sword into combat and getting a kill with it. He stabbed the dude through the throat, but he shot the guy and everything because it wasn't confirmed kill with the sword because he shot the guy afterwards.
Yeah, I also know of a guy who got his confirmed kill with his MRE spoon. So there's that.
That man should get a medal.
He did. Oh, he did. I want to say
Can we give him a gold plate MRE spoon and
I'm not
pin
sure.
it to his chest?
I want to say, I don't quote me on this, but I want to say he got a Navy comm with a V for that. Because they were in hand-to-hand combat. He didn't have his weapon at that time. It got like stripped from him or whatever. And he just reached for whatever solid object was in his flak. And in the Molly gear woven in, he had his MRE spoon. So he just grabbed that and fucking gouged the dude's eyes. And it's like, I think they actually did give him a medal for that. I'm gonna search that one up later because I don't want to speak out of turn. But yeah, that is a confirmed story. Anyway, moving back into the list here, we got Brian Roa. Probably mispronouncing it. Don't really care. According to the complaint filed, law enforcement executed a search warrant of Roa's residence and vehicle where they allegedly seized a rifle, handgun, tactical belt, ammunition, and a rifle magazine. A single rifle magazine, a two-way radio, and an infrared laser target pointer. A search of Roa's phone allegedly found messages in a group with Thomas, Proper, and others discussing an attack at the UFC event at the White House, with some users discussing using drones rigged with explosives to initiate the attack. With rooftop snipers killing individuals, law enforcement also allegedly found Instagram videos of Roa had posted of himself shooting guns, which this dude's like, did some tactical training. Awesome stuff. I mean, tell me you're gay without telling me you're gay. He's in Mexico. And the way he's spelling this, he's trying to be like tactical. Bro, stop all that. Stop that right now. You silly bitch. Michael Thomas, according to the complaint filed Central District of California, Thomas allegedly participated in a group chat that was planning to attack the UFC. They keep repeating that. On June 7th, he allegedly wrote, quote, $1,300 gets us the drones and the charges. Yes, we should all pitch in and we need it ASAP, end quote. In another group chat, Thomas, under a pseudonym, allegedly described tiers of operators within the anti-government group, with tier 1 being operators on the ground, tier 2 being drivers and drone operators, tier 3 being logistics suppliers, and tier 4 being social media influencers. My God, I bet Hassan Piker was on that list. Tier 1 status is not something to take lightly. This is a direct quote. We will make sure they have all the tier 2 support we can provide. We will try to break them out of jail if we need to. These boys were out of their actual fucking minds. Like, bro. Okay. In the same group chat, Thomas discussed meeting with Roa in person in Southern California in order to conduct, quote, marksman training, and reflected that the group needed to train for, quote, guerrilla-style warfare. These guys were some of the most people. In a June 13th search warrant, FBI agents allegedly seized from Thomas residence a rifle, 30-round extended magazines for the rifle, and 180 rounds of ammunition and a pistol. A rifle, a 30-round magazine, I wouldn't call that extended, but I guess in California they would consider that an extended mag, and 180 rounds of ammunition. So your boy had enough to fill 6 mags, but he only had 1 mag. And dude's gearing up for war. We need to prepare for guerrilla-style warfare. Norse Trucker, go ahead, man.
Kind of sounds like too much Call of Duty.
Oh, my God, right? It gets worse. The more we read, the worse it really gets. Because, I don't know if this article shows the pictures of these dudes. These guys were about to get their shit wrecked hard. Yeah. Not a single one of them looks like they ever, served in any kind of a capacity of the military, law enforcement, or anywhere where they would, like, actually need it. These are like airsofters that took shit too seriously. Like, for sure.
Probably.
Yeah. Moving on. Daniel Eskridge. Eskridge was charged with conspiracy to commit murder on White House grounds. According to an affidavit filed in the Western District of Missouri, the FBI identified Eskridge while reviewing electronic communications on Propper's cell phone. The co-conspirators had electronic chats on encrypted social media platforms. In those chats, members of the group would allegedly discuss assassinating several U.S. senators, representatives, and prominent business execs. Members of the group targeted some legislators based on the group's perceived belief that the legislators accepted money from pro-Israel lobbies. So we're talking about pretty much all of them. Pretty much all politicians. They were. All right, yep. When discussing potential targets, Eskridge indicated that the targets was, quote, big and someone a majority of the country knows, end quote. In the discussions, power grids were also identified as potential targets. On May 22nd, Eskridge distributed a picture of tactical equipment, including a rifle, helmet, and ballistic vest. The photograph below. Once again, y'all see the problem here. Y'all see the problem. It's the quote on the picture says, "The First Amendment isn't working." And he's got a Kevlar, a vest, a rifle. I mean, don't get me wrong. It looks cool. I'll give you that as far as like somebody who likes gear. Like, yo, that's a solid setup, but the First Amendment isn't working. Time to use the second. Like, just stop that. You silly bitch. Also, according to the affidavit, in a separate chat group, the conversation took place in early June when Eskridge and some of the other chat group members discussed the plan to attack the UFC Freedom 250 event. Specifically, Thomas stated Pennsylvania Avenue. Eskridge said the group should obtain the $1,300 they needed for 5 teams of 3, each team consisting of 1 sniper, 1 tier 1 operator as support, lookout, or excuse me, 5 teams of 3, each team consisting of 1 sniper, 1 tier 1 operator as support / lookout, and 1 drone operator. So within each team, you would have a tier 1, 2, and 3 guy by their definitions, I guess. I don't know. And And they said the money was going to provide them funding to purchase drones and charges, and encouraged the group to all pitch in. On June 13th, law enforcement officials executed a federal search warrant of his residence. Agents recovered rifles, a shotgun, pistol, and other tactical gear. All right. There's so many things to break down as far as these silly bitches and their ideas here. $1,300 is not going to get you enough drones and explosive, even if you were going to build it yourselves, right? Most of the, explosive components and mixtures that you could buy and make at your house, all these dudes are like, we need to meet up for marksmanship training. Did anybody take the time to practice making these explosives that you were going to strap onto a drone? Did anybody start to look at how they were going to be launching these explosives from the drones? How you were going to detonate them? Was it going to be remote activated? Was it going to be Bluetooth? Like, how are you going to do this? Was there any actual planning and forethought to this? Now, on top of that, the tactical gear, all that I saw was one dude that at least understood the assignment of what tactical gear would look like. But you're not going to get into DC and get onto rooftops at one of the biggest and most watched events of the last few years. And you think, especially with Trump having 4 attempts on his life already, you don't think security is going to be through the roof and on top of every roof in Washington, D.C.? I used to live there. I'm telling you, when a big event like this goes down, you don't have a place that you're not going to see somebody on a roof with a rifle. That's how this goes. So, yeah, these boys here, they watched one too many movies, played way too much Call of Duty, and were either airsoft or paintball nerds that were all a little on the extremist side. I blame the internet. I blame the internet and bad parenting. And believe it or not, this whole plot was foiled because is his name Pryor? Proper. Yeah, Proper's mom. He's 19. His mom said that he had been acting really strange lately and actually had him, like, I don't want to say committed, but had him brought in for psych eval, which is when they interviewed him at a medical facility on June 11th. That's why he was there. Because, like, his mom realized, like, yo, something's wrong with you. You are acting really crazy. And then I don't know if she found the gear. I know she didn't find the text messages or whatever, but she had found enough things to say, like, oh, no, my son's about to do some horrible shit. And she actually turned him in. And when he was pressed, he immediately folded and told them everything and ratted on the entire operation. So, yeah, big oofs all the way around on that. Moving forward here, I wanted to talk about this. Tulsi Gabbard, Colonel Gabbard, who is about to leave her position, did want to have this happen before she left. Tulsi Gabbard announces the release of never-before-seen intelligence on biolabs. Now, y'all remember when the whole Russia-Ukraine situation started and kicked off, we were talking about the fact that we had American biolabs all over Ukraine and Russia kept finding them, right? And don't give me the QAnon shit about how there was, oh yeah, they were freeing these children from these deep underground military bases in these biolabs. I don't know anything about the children. I am of the belief that these were biolabs that were making shit that America's not supposed to be making, i.e. sarin gas and shit like that. But either way, Tulsi Gabbard is releasing the biolab intel. Let's listen from Colonel Gabbard herself.
After months of searching through intelligence community holdings and files, today I'm releasing new evidence of long-standing U.S. government funding of more than 120 biolabs in over 30 countries. Now, these biolabs include labs in places like Ukraine, which could be at risk of compromise due to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. In fact, the intelligence community had previously warned that a U.S.-funded biolab in Ukraine likely housed dangerous pathogens and remained vulnerable to long-standing threats of Russian attack, seizure, or damage. Now, until now, evidence regarding the full existence and funding of these laboratories had been knowingly withheld from you, the American people. Many of these U.S. government-funded biolabs are currently or have previously engaged in research using hazardous and highly contagious pathogens. and in some cases included dangerous gain-of-function research with very little visibility or oversight. Now, President Trump clearly understands the serious threat dangerous gain-of-function research poses to the American people. And this is why he took decisive action over a year ago. On May 25th, 2025, he signed an executive order to end federal funding of gain-of-function research around the world. Here at ODNI, I issued new guidance to the intelligence community directing increased collection on these laboratories and facilities overseas. And we're already seeing the results of this increased collection. We're learning new details, for example, on clinical trials that are underway at these facilities and that are raising significant ethical, financial, and security concerns regarding the supposed public health initiatives and U.S. national security. Now, despite the obvious potential for catastrophic global impact that research on dangerous pathogens in biolabs can have, politicians and so-called health professionals like Dr. Fauci, as well as entities within the Biden administration's national security team, lied repeatedly to the American people about the existence of U.S.-funded and supported biolabs. Not only did they lie, they threatened those who attempted to expose the truth. So this release today breaks new ground, as the information surrounding the existence, history, locations, and funding of these U.S.-funded biolabs has been intentionally covered up by very powerful people who falsely claimed that these biolabs didn't exist. Now, they accuse anyone who says otherwise to be foreign assets and traitors to America. Now, ODNI will continue working closely with partners across the U.S. government to identify exactly where these labs are and what pathogens they contain to end dangerous gain-of-function research that threatens the health and well-being of the American people and people around the world.
Shouts out to Tulsi Gabbard for her work in this regard. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So let's talk about it here. This is from the ODNI website. That would be the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. So, after months of searching through intelligence community holdings and files, Director of National Intelligence, DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, is revealing new evidence of long-standing United States government funding for more than 120 biolabs in 30 countries. So, all right, I said sarin gas, and I still stand by that. I'm sure some of these labs are working on some horrible chemical weapons and things like that. But let's also not sidestep the fact that is this also a portion of where COVID might have come from? I understand it came from Wuhan. It came from the lab in China. I 100%. And as always, we must hear from the Hong Kong correspondent here, you know, just because.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
For sure. Absolutely. These things did come out of Wuhan. I'm 100% with you on that. But is this also possible that, you know, remember Trump was all about everybody getting vaxxed in the beginning of his term. We don't need a sidestep Operation Warp Speed. And there's no way that they could have created a vaccine that he was promoting at that time without crazy gain-of-function research. And now he's changing his tune. Now he's wanting to bring to light all these biolabs that are doing some heinous things. Some of them are in Ukraine, not all, some. But yeah, let's talk about here. These biolabs include labs in Ukraine, which may be at risk of compromise due to ongoing Ukraine war. For example, the intelligence community previously warned that a U.S.-funded biolab in Ukraine likely housed dangerous pathogens and remained vulnerable to long-standing threats of Russian attack, seizure, or damage. So we might as well. The newly declassified evidence can be found here. Let's go ahead and click that and see what's up. I haven't looked all into this just yet. This is pretty much sight unseen. We are doing this together, y'all. Let's check it out here. So, veterinary research facility in Kharkiv, which is where a lot of fighting's been going on. Ongoing target for Russian misinformation, other potential operations. The Institute of Experimental and Clinical Veterinary Medicine in Kharkiv probably houses at least some dangerous pathogens and almost certainly remains vulnerable to long-standing Russian information operations, seizure, or damage. The institute, which was founded in the 1920s, let that one sink in, and may have had Soviet biological warfare ties, specializes in veterinary medicine, virology, and toxicology, according to military reporting and Ukrainian documentation. So this group, the IECVM, it focuses on research on diagnostics and vaccines, and allegedly has already been destroyed. As of the early 2010s, this place held hundreds of pathogens and was one of over 40 Ukrainian-owned and operated laboratories that received assistance under the DoD's Biological Threat Reduction Program, according to publicly available information and blank reporting. So there's a lot of redactions on this picture here, y'all. Although the facility had updated some areas with modern equipment and infrastructure, the IECVM, as recently as 2019, had at least some biosafety and biosecurity deficiencies, most notably in rooms handling contagious Brucella bacteria, according to whoever that is. They redacted name here. Let's see. Anthrax bacteria. Remember I said chemical weapons? Anthrax bacteria and Brucella bacteria. Shocker. How crazy is that, right? The IECVM almost certainly will remain a target of Russian information operations, particularly narratives that focus on the zoonotonic pathogen work, that'd be like animal sicknesses, and will be vulnerable to potential Russian damage of seizure. Information from 2012 indicates that at least this group's virology building has a basement level. Okay, fair enough. So this is a picture of a map of Ukraine. And we have storage of biological weapons pathogens from the Soviet era, U.S. training for Ukrainian scientists to work in biocontainment, especially dangerous pathogen or EDP certification, repository of biological weapons and disease-causing pathogens. Anthrax, I'm going to try to pronounce these words. I apologize. I barely speak American English, y'all. Anthrax, tularemia, tuberculosis, swine fever, Newcastle's disease, MERS, or MERS, SARS, Marburg, Ebola, Lassa, the plague, rickets, fucking rickets, dog. What? Okay. And on this map, we could see what was meant by all of these things. You see all these things across Ukraine in Kharkiv, or over here in that's not Donetsk. Donetsk also has one though. Luhansk, Crimea, Kherson, and then even as far as Western Ukraine also has spots. Kiev has some spots. Odessa has spots. Yeah, this is wild. And again, we being conspiracy people knew about this and we talked about this, but now they're actually coming out about it. This has really been a wild year, y'all, in so many regards. Anyway, and you know what? I might even stop here because I do want to talk about this on the Cult of Conspiracy, but we also could bring up this really quickly here. Ukraine Labs, the web of connections to the U.S. biological weapons defense industry. Just so we have some of the names that are associated with this. Some of these you probably have heard of. Some of these are foreign entities. But as far as the American names here, we got the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Somehow they were in the mix. The USDA, the CDC, the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. They were in on this. The University of Florida, the United States Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases, the Safosa, Switzerland. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. Where else? Kansas State University. Okay. That's another one that I really and truly didn't expect to see on this one. The University of New Mexico, the University of Alaska, Anchorage. So yeah, they had quite a bit of outside funding for this operation. And apparently that went on for years. Just wow. So anyway, Colonel Gabbard has come forward with this information, and thank God she has, to be honest with you, because I feel like a lot of Americans still think that, it's crazy to me how, especially in the day and age we live in, when everybody just lived through COVID and everybody has learned that Epstein and the island were all real, so many people are actually thinking about conspiracies more seriously and actually thinking for themselves here. And they're wait a minute, maybe we can't trust the government regardless of political sides and whatever. More and more people are acknowledging that we really cannot trust our government. This coming out as well, I'm happy in one regard, but I'm also acutely aware that the United States government would not release this information unless they were trying to distract from something else, because that's how this works. And I'm personally kind of terrified of what comes next. But yeah, we might even do a whole cult of conspiracy episode on the information about the biolabs. I don't see why not, because this is very new information, and I'm sure in the next few days we're going to have a lot more research done into the topic. But with all this being said, I do want to go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Cajun Night Live. If anybody is listening to this and would like to be a part of the conversation, or if you're watching this on the YouTube, please subscribe, like, follow, do the things. If you want to be a part of the conversation every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central, go to the link in the description below to patreon.com/Cajun Night. There's only one tier for entry. Nobody's trying to make it rich off of this. We are trying to grow this to be its own information sharing group that meets once a week to discuss religion, history, geopolitics, all the things, and just pretty much everything that gets us, gets our brains turning. And I thoroughly enjoy my Wednesday night group chats, if you will, and I know all the members of the retinue do as well. Once again, everybody, I am the Cajun Knight. Thank you all for joining me this evening, and as always, God bless.